question is, what albums do you think are essential for someone new to hip hop to listen to? Great question, man. Whew, essential albums for someone new to hip hop. So here's the thing. This is like one of those impossible questions. Like there's no way to answer it in a way that is at all complete because there are just so many records that deserve to be on this list. This is one of those questions where no matter how you answer it, you're going to piss some people off, So I'll just, preface this by saying what I'm going to share is not meant to be the definitive list of essential hip hop listening for, newbies. It's just based on my preferences and like the records that are most important to me. All right. So this is just my shit. It's not the be all and end all. And I'm going to, just name a few. So there's going to be tons of records that get left off. That being said, I think the first one that I'm going to suggest is a given for me, but probably for, I think, like 95% of hip hop heads, I would guess. There's kind of one record that shines as like the starting place and one of the greatest hip hop albums ever made, one of the greatest albums ever made, period. And that's Nas' Illmatic. That's probably no surprise to people who are fans of me and my content. And this is kind of the one. For me, it's the one and only starting point. And, of course, I'm biased. Nas is my favorite rapper. But again, like most hip hop fans will tell you, like, this is the one. It's just the greatest. And for so many reasons, like Nas Illmatic as an album, it encapsulates so many things. First of all, Nas is Nas. So the rapping is just like ridiculous. Some of the best ever recorded, like his ability to paint a picture, his ability to incorporate this detailed imagery and like the uniqueness of his vocabulary and his way with words, his ability to tell a story and put people in these situations and put people in these environments is just unmatched. So, shout out to Nas, the GOAT. And then on the production side too, it's just ridiculous because it's the cast of like the greatest like sample-based boom bap New York hip hop producers of that 90s era. And like the 90s are my favorite era. I think the 90s are the best, but again, that's just me. There's a lot of people who will tell you that the 80s are the greatest era. And for sure, the 80s are amazing too. And you got to check out Big Daddy Kane and Eric B. and Rakim and KRS-One and all of that stuff is amazing and needs to be checked out too. But for me, the 90s that's my favorite. And Illmatic just brought together like the best cats who were doing that sound. I mean, you have DJ Premier, Pete Rock, Large Professor, Q-Tip, all doing beats on Illmatic. So that's really, really insane. So just musically and in terms of the lyrics and rap, it's like such a masterpiece. And I would say also thematically, it encapsulates so much that like hip hop had to offer during that 90s era. Like, yes, of course, it has like the street hard, like gangster element heavily represented. So there's that. And then it also has like this really deep, like personal introspective element to it, like with songs like The World Is Yours. And then it also has so much heart, like with songs like One Love. And then it also just has like bars and clever wordplay and all the stuff that makes rap so fun and exciting with like joints like Halftime. So it's kind of all there. It's just such a good encapsulation of like what was happening in hip hop in the 90s. And it's just the greatest rap record ever made. So that would be my starting point, man, for sure. So that's number one. Number two, I'm going to go with my favorite group, A Tribe Called Quest. And I guess I would say Low End Theory by Tribe Called Quest. You could go Midnight Marauders too. Midnight Marauders is probably my personal favorite from them, but I think Low End Theory is that's probably the one to start with. It's a classic. It's amazing record. The beats are so insane on that album. Like the way that the drums knock is ridiculous. So there's that. And then, Q-Tip and Phife, rest in peace to Phife, who's no longer living, but those are the two rappers from the group, and they bounce off each other so well. There's such an incredible chemistry. They have so much fun in their music. They don't take themselves too seriously, and yet they're able to convey really meaningful messages on their records. So that's really, really dope. They have great voices too. I mean, Q-Tip has one of the best voices in rap, in my opinion, so unique and recognizable. And Tribe is also just really, really important. They're really foundational in terms of like combining jazz and hip hop together in a way that was really authentic and dope. They're kind of, to my knowledge, like the first to do it in a way that was really successful, in that like hip hop heads knew that it was really dope, but also jazz fans thought that it was really dope too. And oftentimes, like when you try to combine two genres like that, whether it's jazz and rap or like rock rap, which had a thing for a while, usually what happens is like one camp or the other is not really satisfied with the result. So like maybe the hip hop heads are like, yeah, this is fire, but the jazz people are like, this has nothing to do with jazz. Or vice versa. And usually what happens is even worse than that, where it's just like nobody's satisfied. Like the hip hop people are like, this is corny, and the jazz people are like, this is weird. And so you just lose everybody, and it's a lose-lose. And so that happens quite often. But Tribe like did it right, and did it in a way that was like really like genuinely dope. And they got a lot of props from the jazz world and from the hip hop world. And that's just really important to know about, because they set the stage for like Jay Dilla later on, and like Neo Soul, and like the Soulquarians movement, all the way on to like To Pimp a Butterfly, like from Kendrick, and like Robert Glasper, and all the like jazz hip hop fusion that occurs in the contemporary music scene as well. Kind of all can be traced back to Tribe. So definitely that would be my second recommendation. I'm gonna try to make it quick now, because I could go on forever again, and there's too many to mention. Third, I would say Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers. Gotta check it out. Classic hip hop record. You don't just get one dope MC. You don't just get two dope MCs. You get 9 dope MCs, and they're all ridiculously dope in different ways. And so the contrast of voices and styles and approaches to rapping is so wide, like from ODB to Method Man to Ghostface to the Jizza and on and on. I mean, it's just like they're all great in their own right, and then they're all together on the same record, and it pulls in all the samples from, the classic Kung Fu flicks, which is amazing, and that was super influential in hip-hop, and RZA's production is so dark and gritty and grimy and horror movie, and it's just awesome. It's such a fun listen. It's like reading a violent graphic novel in hip-hop form, so you got to check it out. And then just quickly, something from super old school would be Eric B. and Rakim, Paid in Full. Got to check it out. I would say Rakim is your favorite rapper's favorite rapper for a reason, because basically everything that makes rap awesome, so much of it, I would argue, comes from Rakim in terms of like what makes it lyrical and intricate. So like multi-syllabic rhyming as like the baseline, and like intricate patterns, AAB, CCB, squeezing in internal rhyme inside a rhyme. Like so much of that stuff, it's not that Rakim was the first person to do it, but before him, it was like every once in a while you'd throw in something like that for flair and flash. Rakim was just like, this is just how you rap, period. This is the baseline. Like everything is going to be intricate now as the standard. Every single line is going to be intricately constructed with multisyllabic rhymes. This is the new standard and baseline. So got to check that one out. And then something more contemporary, I would say Kendrick Lamar, To Pimp a Butterfly, because it's just, or Good Kid, Mad City is actually my personal favorite. Both of those records, you can't go wrong. But probably To Pimp a Butterfly is definitely like the critic's choice. But yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody has ever crafted a concept album in hip hop that is I think nobody can do it like Kendrick Lamar, and nobody had done it prior, and nobody has done it since. Just that level of thoughtfulness going into a concept album. Like when you listen to those records, it's just like there's so much intricacy and there are so many layers. There's a college course, or at least there was for a while, based on To Pimp a Butterfly, like a whole semester's worth of material. And it's warranted. I mean, those records are just, and Good Kid, Mad City, it's like watching a movie. You like close your eyes and you watch a movie, and there's themes and motifs and like triple entendres and shit that you don't even know is there until you go to genius.com. So I think Kendrick Lamar is a genius mind, and the way that he makes records is just like unmatched. So
you have it.
Those are my suggestions.
Do you know which one you've listened to the most over, throughout your whole life?
I probably have listened to Illmatic the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Because I basically have that record memorized. I think I know pretty much every lyric. If the record's playing, I for sure have it memorized. If I just have to do it a cappella, I'm maybe like 75, 80%.
Gotcha. It's also the one that's just right behind you, so that makes sense.
Yeah, dude. Got it right here. So always at the ready. But again, that's a very incomplete list. I didn't really represent well for the ladies of hip hop. So, I mean, Miseducation by Lauryn Hill is a classic record. You got to listen to it. The Score by the Fugees is a classic record. You got to listen to it. There are so many groups that are super important to me that I didn't mention, like Black Alicious and Gangstar. And, it's like, once you mention this, you got to mention this, you got to mention this, you got to mention this. So we could go on forever, but that would be a good starting point.